Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern stories told by spooky gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoe, and we both have a bunch of stories to tell you.
Because we're 50. Baby!
We're 50!
Woo!
Can you believe? Would you have thought, like, a year ago today, not today, obviously, but a year ago, we would have, I don't know, I'm just
Actually
lost.
done the thing we said we would do?
Yes!
And kept doing it a lot.
And kept doing it. We have not missed a single Tuesday, knock on wood.
To be honest, I am shocked. But good for us, and thank you guys for listening.
I know, right? And we were doing so well. And I'm just flamboyed. Flamboyed? That's not a word.
She's flamboyed, y'all.
I'm flamboyed.
All right. Well, to celebrate, Zoe has brought out these beverages.
Well, first, before we get to that, I do want to say that today is going to be an abnormal episode.
Oh, yeah. We actually have to let them in on what's going on.
Yeah. So we're not going to do a how's life section because honestly, you guys have heard enough of our lives. We are also not going to do a something, though I guess what I have right here is a little bit of a something, but not really of a something, but it's okay. What we're going to do, Robin and I have both brought to you Southern folklore or urban legends that we have prepared and to tell the story. And so typically this would be my episode, so I have 6 prepared since, you know, I wanted to not be unfair in the research department.
And I really appreciate that, Zoe.
And Robin has 3.
And so, you know, when we're picking out stories that we want to do an episode on, there's a lot of really cool things that just simply would not take up an episode's worth of time.
Right. It's like they're either too short for a full episode or they're too long for something.
But guys,
we're going to bring those mediums to you.
You're getting the mediums today.
This is going to be a really fun episode. Robin and I have been looking forward to it. But first, before we get to the lore, I do want to talk about the dirty girls that we have sitting on our table.
Very promiscuously, like those potatoes from last episode.
Exactly. So what Robin and I have right now are these dirty girl transfusion drinks. These are made in Georgia, so in a sense, they are something. So they're something Southern. So Kari and I were...
They're cans of drinks.
Yes, they're cocktail in a can. They're vodka, grape juice, and ginger ale.
I cannot picture that all together. I genuinely can't imagine what this is going to taste like.
It's actually really good. Like, Kari and I... Sorry, I just read the bottom, and it says transfuse yourself. That's funny. But Kari and I were actually... Where were we? We were at a liquor store picking up some drinks for a party. And they were handing out free samples of this drink, and Kari and I were like, okay, we'll take the free sample, right? And we both took a sip of it, and we were like, oh my god, this is so good. And we bought a pack then, and we've been pretty much keeping our fridge full of them ever since. So they're actually like really, really good. This is not sponsored, but we can be. Wink, wink.
Oh my god, y'all, she literally winked at me.
Yes. So, let's crack these open. So we know I like them. Robin is having her first sip. How do you feel about it?
It's good. It tastes like soda.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like alcohol at all. And I think that's why Kari really likes them.
You could give this to me and I would not guess that it was alcoholic.
It is 7%. So, not very strong.
Yeah.
But apparently it's 2 cocktails per can. So these are 2 drinks I'm giving you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I guess we decided, since I have more, I'm going to start. So, Robin.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Bloody Bones?
No, I have not.
How about Rawhead?
No.
Okay.
No, I have not.
So, Bloody Bones and Rawhead sometimes are the same being, sometimes they're best friends, okay? So, this is a story that actually started in England, but when it came to the Americas, it became well known as Southern lore to the point that most people believe that it starts in the South.
All right, so we're claiming it, is what you're saying.
They are a boogeyman figure. They are a pile of bloody bones with a skinless head, or a walking skeletal creature skipped of skin and muscle, leaving wet, red bones walking around.
He sounds hot.
So attractive. I actually have a photo of him to show you.
You don't have to do that, sorry.
Another version says that he has the head of a butchered hog, and he is brought to life by a witch to find the hunter that killed it. And Bloody Bones, usually by the end of the story, will drop down the hunter's chimney and eat him alive.
How many people hunted him? Does this happen often? Or was this just the one?
The one story, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
there's variations of the story, but typically by the end of it, Bloody Bones eats the hunter alive.
All right.
Children are told if they misbehave, Bloody Bones will visit them.
I just...
And it usually scares them without any further need of explanation.
I know. What was raising kids like when kids actually believed all these folk tales? It must have been so easy.
Yeah.
Just don't go outside. Bloody Bones will get you.
Yeah.
All right, Mom, thanks.
Well, there's a nursery rhyme people would sing to their children. I'm not going to sing it to you because I don't know the tune, but it goes...
You can't guess?
No. I mean, I probably could, but I don't want to. It goes, raw head and bloody bones steals naughty children from their homes, takes him to his dirty den, and they are never seen again.
Rawhide and bloody bones steal children from their very homes. He takes them to the den, and then they're never seen again. Whoa!
So great. You know how, like, there's a movie trend of, like, kids singing, like, ring around the posy, like, all creepy,
Ring around
like...
the rosy, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Pockets full of posy, whatever.
And ashes.
But it's usually creepy
Enemy
children
awful town.
singing slowly the nursery rhymes, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, any good horror trailer begins with a creepy child singing a nursery rhyme.
Yes.
Anyone.
Well, this nursery rhyme, I think, is worth a creepy child singing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
because you're like literally singing about your doom, which most nursery rhymes are, but yeah.
But I mean, at least when it's like ring around the rosy, pockets full of posies, it's like, ooh, we have flowers in our pockets. Woo!
Remember ashes, we all fall down.
Yes, but like, I don't think people automatically assume that they're human ashes.
I didn't necessarily think they're human ashes. I just think something is burning.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, they are human ashes, aren't
They are, because of all the people dying.
Okay, but Bloody Bones.
Yeah. So Bloody Bones likes to hide in cupboards and under the stairs or anywhere else that is dark and musty. I was on monster.fandom.com, and there was a comment on this article about Bloody Bones left behind by Mega Weeb Nerd.
Y'all gotta get some better, like, usernames, because I can't be like, here's a really spooky story from Reddit user blah blah blah, and your name just sucks.
Yeah. Like, Kermit the Frog vored me, you know, like, you don't want that.
Want that, guys.
So, Mega Weeb Nerd's comment says, my grandma used to tell me this story to go to sleep. It happened a little bit different, though. There were 3 daughters who had to go put fire into the wood burner, and Bloody Bones came and told them that if they told anyone he was down there, he would get them. Finally, the dad had to go down because the fire had still not been done, and Bloody Bones told him the same thing. The dad, however, told everyone that Bloody Bones was there. That night, Bloody Bones came to his bed and jumped where the dad should be to try to kill him, I'm guessing. But he wasn't on the bed, he was under the bed. It leaves off there. So
the dad wasn't on the bed?
Yeah, the dad was hiding under the bed because he knew Bloody Bones was coming to get him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, that's another version of the story.
Okay.
Albeit a little less creepy because nobody died, but...
Darn.
I know. Oh my God. And there are also tales of Bloody Bones who ripped the head off of a man for gossiping.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is that, like, also what you tell your kids? If you think your kid's, like, a mean girl, you're just like, Bloody Bones gonna rip off your head?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I want to show you this gorgeous portrait of him.
Okay, so it's not a photo. I actually really like the artwork there.
It's creepy as all get out.
Yeah.
It gives, like, Tim Burton-esque vibes.
So I'm gonna just describe it. There's no skin. This guy is all muscle, and this guy is looking at this little girl who's coming down the stairs at night, and he's, like, obviously about to, like, kill her or something.
And he's, like, smiling, and the only, like, clean part of him that is, like, all white is his eyeballs.
Yeah, because the red is bloody, because he's Bloody Bones.
Yeah, and the girl's coming down the stairs with a candle in her hand.
All right.
But yeah, that is the end of the story called Bloody Bones.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. What's your first story?
It's not scary. It's the Brown Mountain Lights.
Okay.
Zoe, you and I have been in this area together, and this is an area I have personally hiked a lot. If you are in the Pisgah National Forest, which is in North Carolina, you can go to a place called Wise Man's View off of the Blue Ridge Parkway. Mm-hmm. And there you're kind of looking out toward the Linville Gorge. And if you look to the east, you can see Brown Mountain. And if you were there at night, there is a chance you could see something called the Brown Mountain Lights.
I think my father's told me about these before.
Very likely. I knew these existed, so I didn't just happen upon them in my research for this episode. I was like, I'll talk about the Brown Mountain Lights now. It's time. So people have been seeing these mysterious lights that are sometimes on the mountain. Sometimes you can see them going into the valley. And what it looks like when you're looking out at them is like a continuation of the stars, but into an area where you know a mountain is. You should not be seeing stars in that direction. And some people say that they move really slowly. Others say they move very quickly. And apparently part of the folklore, depending on who you talk to, is that they might follow you as if they have a mind on their own, rather than just being random lights in the distance.
Gotcha.
Now, people have been seeing them supposedly since like before European settlers were here. Like there were stories about it among, I believe, the Cherokee and the Catawba Native Americans. Mm-hmm. And then sightings of them just continued, and apparently the US government has actually looked into this 3 times because people are like, well, there's random lights out there, and you know, you kind of want to figure out why there are random lights. Yeah. And I saw one thing that said that in like the year 1900, the US government was like, it's just the railroad lights, which, okay, keep in mind, the lights were there before the railroads were. And people were like, oh, okay, it's just the railroad lights. And then the railroad tracks were flooded, so there were no more trains, and then the lights kept coming. Oh. Now, there have been like a lot of questions of, all right, well, do we actually believe that these lights are real? Like, because it's so rare to see them that some people are like, maybe it's just people say that there's lights here. But I do have 2 things for you to see. One is like a video. Ooh. And then one is a photo. Okay. So I'm going to show you the video first. And this is a video that was put onto UNC TV on PBS North Carolina's YouTube channel. But it was footage that was caught by a man named Charles Braswell Jr., who wrote a book called Are Those the Brown Mountain Lights? Which I really love the straightforward title of. So those are 2 pieces of footage from it. And there's another photo I want you to see. And this photo really got me. It is taken by Dr. Daniel Caton, who is a researcher at Appalachian State University, which is really close by. And he's been working on researching the Brown Mountain Lights for a really long time, like obviously from a scientific perspective. And he was kind of to the point where he didn't really believe that anybody had actually seen them, that maybe it was just folklore passed down without any actual thing causing it. Mm-hmm. But he got these photos, and the thing about these photos, Zoe, is that I was like, well, where are the lights? Because I'm just seeing the cities in the distance. And then I think I realized that it wasn't cities in the distance I was seeing, but
oh wow,
the lights.
So all of those are lights?
I think so. So okay, I'm gonna get to where they are in the so I'm pretty sure that is because these are all like the photos that he's taken, and like this made USA Today that like, oh, he captured the Brown Mountain Lights.
Wow.
See? So
wow.
I think I'm reading that as people are like definitively saying they've been seeing them. I think the most well-known like paranormal explanation behind it is that it kind of harkens back to a time when the Cherokees and the Catawbas were like battling over the land, I believe, and obviously a lot of people died, and so the wives whose husbands did not come home, the story goes, would take out their lanterns and their torches and search the mountains for them. And so that the lights you see are the lanterns and the torches as these women are trying to find, you know, their lost lovers. Oh. And of course, you know, there's the aliens thought.
Yeah, no, like when you showed that one video where it was like moving weirdly, I was like, yeah, that's an alien.
Well, okay, here's my thoughts on aliens. Would you know? I don't quite know. Anytime that something seems to not make sense in any sort of way.
Aliens.
And I'm like, okay, I don't get how these lights could be considered aliens.
They look like little mini UFOs.
They're dots. They're dots of light.
UFOs!
And Brown Mountain in North Carolina, near Morganton, is where they're choosing.
Clearly, there's something in the mountain, that specific mountain, that they need to harvest, and they've been harvesting it for years.
X-Files did do an episode about the Brown Mountain Lights.
Really?
Apparently, it came out in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that is the story of the Brown Mountain Lights.
Well, thank you,
They're a
Robin.
phenomenon that have been going on for a very long time. Phenomena.
Can't do it, even
No,
though I
we
really
can't do
want
it.
to
We can't
because
do
of
it.
copyright.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to my TED Talk about the Brown Mountain Lights.
Well, the next thing I'm going to tell you is about Annie Christmas. Have you heard of Annie?
Mm-mm.
So you've heard of John Henry, I'm guessing? He's the man who hammered through the mountain just to, like, die at the end?
No.
Oh, okay. So that was one I almost included in here, but then I realized it happened in West Virginia, not
Oh.
Virginia.
We abide by the line.
Yes, we abide by the line. But have you heard of Johnny Appleseed?
Yeah, apples.
Yeah. Annie Christmas, John Henry, and Johnny Appleseed are all, like, part of this, like, subsect of folklore kind of thing.
Like tall tales.
Yeah, where it's like they aren't real people, but they might have been based off of real people, and people share their story as if they were real people.
Mm-hmm.
So Annie Christmas, she is one of these figures. She traveled the Mississippi River, but she called New Orleans her home. She was an almost supernaturally lucky and strong Black woman who defied the patriarchy while also being distinctly feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Her symbol was her pearl necklace, where each pearl represents the defeat of someone who challenged her, usually a man.
Ooh.
And people said that the necklace was 30 feet long.
Okay.
So, like, she's defeated a lot of men.
Oh, okay, I get you. Okay,
Yeah.
I was just, my mind was stupid. I was just like, that's a long necklace.
She drank an exorbitant amount of liquor. She dominated any man who tried to challenge her authority. And she had no husband, but had 12 sons who crewed her boat. And one son was quoted saying, "Can't tame ma'am any more than you can tame that Mississippi."
Okay.
She was described as 6'7", 250 pounds. She had rich, dark skin and had a loud and boisterous laugh that sounded like a foghorn. She was just this powerful woman. There's nothing that could defeat her. She would carry the same weight that 5 men had to carry, and she would do it on her own. And she manned her own boat and things like that. Mm-hmm. And they said there are a couple different stories about her death. And one story said that she fought a storm on a steamboat. So, like, she had her own keeler, and she came across a steamboat in the river when there was a storm, and she needed to save the steamboat. And she ended up saving the lives of all the passengers, some say by jumping into the Mississippi with a tow line tied around her waist, where she swam and dragged the steamboat passengers to safety. So, like, she literally tied the boat to her and swam it to safety.
Oh, wow.
Others were just like she used her rowboat to get them to safety, or she physically fought the storm off. But usually she ends up dying at the end of this, because once she knew all the passengers were safe, her heart would give out. Which is a similar situation to James Adams, I think is what I just said his name was. John Henry, sorry. John Henry. Wow, that's different. John Henry, he was challenged to, like, there was a drill and he had a hammer, and they raced to build a hole through the mountain, and he won, but then immediately died because his heart gave out from the stress of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Again, this is a very similar situation where it's like the only reason they died is because they were saving people, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But another story says that she died defending her boat when she was attacked by 100 men who all shot and stabbed her.
Oh,
which is distinctly more violent.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a kind of a trend when it comes to folklore heroes and things like that. Of course she has a song written about her.
Oh, yay.
I think it's in a children's play because I listened to it and it sounds like it's a children's play.
Are children singing it?
There are children singing. I mean, the main person singing is an adult, but it's kind of like a call and response thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it is written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, which I think is a famous guy, right?
Yeah, very famous.
Okay, and it's performed by Whistle Down the Wind. I don't know if that's the crew or if that's the play, but in that song, this claimed that she did have a husband. She gave birth to all 12 sons at once.
Oh my god.
And they were all 7 feet tall by 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is Annie Christmas.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You know, I've not actually, I don't think I've heard a tall tale like that about a woman before. It's all like, you know, Johnny Appleseed or that guy who, what's that one about that like big guy? I think he was making train tracks or something. Maybe it was John Henry.
That was John Henry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's all about them.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
My next one. Lydia's Haunted Bridge.
Ooh.
I know. I apparently, unknowingly, lived less than 30 minutes from here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't live there anymore.
No.
But it is in Jamestown, North Carolina. You can go to Google Maps and type in Lydia's Haunted Bridge, and yes, you can find it.
Okay.
It's like a mark. It doesn't have a marker, but the internet knows exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
And so this is your classic lady in white hitchhiking ghost.
Ooh.
And so I'm just going to take you through the classic one, which is basically the Lydia one, and then I'm going to give you a sprinkle of current research, and then that's what I'll do.
Okay. Great introduction to your essay.
Thank you. In this essay, I will. So if you're, you know, on a foggy, rainy night, going through... Well, actually, you can't drive through it anymore. They diverted the road. But if you're driving, like, let's say you could drive through, and there's one right next to it. Anyway, you're driving through. It is rainy. It is foggy. You see a woman in a white dress. She raises her hand and asks for a ride in your car.
And I say, nope.
You let her in, however unwisely that choice is. You let her in. She comes in. You ask her questions about her life, as, you know, you're going to the address that she signifies because she wants to get home, okay? And apparently you're feeling invasive and you ask questions about her life. And she'll just, like, give you, like, she'll respond, but she'll be sad about it.
Oh.
I know. She's just sad. So you get to her home and, you know, you go over and you open the door for her because you're a gentleman. And when you do, you realize she's not in the car anymore. And you're like... Maybe she's speedy. So you go up to the door and you're like, knock, knock. Hi, I just wanted to make sure that Lydia's here. And then an older woman answers. And she hears what you have to say. And she's like, Lydia died a long time ago. Oof. And she's a ghost. And she does this sometimes. She's trying to get home. Also, I'm her mother.
That's so sad, though.
It is, yeah. But, I mean, it's also very much the classic Lady in White. Like, it's everywhere, but also it's specifically here. So, the idea about it, there's, like, different versions of the tale. One is that she had been at a dance in a neighboring town and died in a wreck on her way home. So, like, a young woman. Another part of the legend says that if you pass under the bridge, you'll hear people calling Lydia's name. Or you'll hear Lydia calling out the names of the other passengers in the car. Oh. And one version of the story. Okay, there's like two things in here. So like one of them is like content warning for suicide. So the first one is that she and her prom date were in a wreck and she returns on rainy nights looking for him. And the other version where she has like a lover is that he broke up with her and so she killed herself at the bridge. And so that's why you'll see her there. The first person to report seeing Lydia at this bridge is a man named Burke Hardison in 1924.
That's a very strong name.
Burke Hardison?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree very much. And so she's very well known in the town. And of course, yeah, I did live there and I didn't know about it. But other than me, she is very well known. And people have been wondering, okay, well, who is Lydia? Since we all, have stories of this ghost. And 2 ghost hunters said they think they found the person. I'm not quite so sure how much I believe this, but I admire the thought.
Okay.
So they had done a lot of research, and they had found that a woman named Annie L. Jackson died in 1920 in a car accident near the bridge, and she'd been 30 or 35 in doing so. And it was rainy that night, and I think part of the reason that could have happened is because the road was wet. It was at 10 p.m., so that would explain why she's showing up at that time. And apparently, when they were kind of looking into perhaps it is Annie, they were trying to contact her family to see if any of them were in the area, knew anything about this. And it just so happened that separately, a woman who lived in the area and was like a great niece or something had known about Lydia's bridge and learned that she had somebody in her family who died in the area and like right before the haunting started or the sighting started. So she actually contacted them and was like, hey, I think it's my like great aunt Annie. And they were like, we do too. That's a fun coincidence. So they're thinking maybe the L in Annie L. Jackson stands for Lydia.
Lydia.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe. Yeah. But it's a well-known story in the area. And fun fact, I actually learned about this a long time ago. And by a long time ago, I mean while I was researching Devil's Tramping Ground. Because while I was researching the Tramping Ground, I was looking through, people's personal experiences there that they put online. And one of them, and I believe this was like the group of 3 Marines I featured in the episode, said, oh yeah, so we went to the Devil's Tramping Ground, terrifying things happened. And then we were scared, so we went up to Lydia's haunted bridge and slept in the car there.
Wait, I thought Devil's Tramping Ground was in North Carolina.
They're both in North Carolina.
Oh, I always thought you were saying Lydia's bridge was in Georgia.
Jamestown, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. I totally missed
it's
that
still a
then.
drive. You're driving still like 50 or more miles between them.
Okay.
But it was like they wanted to hit up both of them, and I guess they figured that the Lydia's haunted bridge would be the safest place to sleep, which, to be honest, yes.
Yes? It is safe to sleep? At a ghost bridge?
Okay, no. I think they were saying, like, between Devil's Tramping Ground. Where would we rather sleep tonight? The Devil's Tramping Ground or Lydia's haunted bridge?
Yeah.
I vote Lydia's haunted bridge.
Same. Agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, I would not say no to camping in the Devil's Tramping Ground.
Same.
All right.
Spring's right around the corner.
It's steadily getting warmer some days and then frighteningly cold the next. And that's it for Lydia.
Well, thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
So, Robin, you know how I said, like, I didn't want to tell you mine because there's one where I wanted you to react, like, on air to the name of it?
Yeah.
Can I tell you about Murder Kroger?
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, tell me about Murder Kroger. Oh my god.
Okay, so those who may not know, Kroger is a grocery store.
Okay.
I mean, some people in the North are, not in America,
Okay, I'm just like, who doesn't know about Kroger?
A lot of people.
Okay, sorry, I apologize.
There's some people who don't know about Publix, okay?
I know more about Kroger than I do about Publix.
But, like, they don't know Publix exist.
That's fine.
And there's a lot of people who don't know Ingles exists, okay?
I don't know much about Ingles.
So grocery stores are, like, relative to their area.
I am aware of that, Zoe. I just had a gut instinct of why are we reminding people that Kroger is a grocery store? So, I apologize.
Here is the story of the Murder Kroger. Okay.
Is it actually a Kroger?
It's a Kroger.
Oh my god.
It's a Kroger grocery store.
That murders people?
No, but it is cursed.
Okay, please, carry on. I'm wrapped.
This is actually a modern folklore. Okay, urban legend, however you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Because it is a grocery store, parking lot specifically, that people believe is genuinely cursed and that you have a high chance of getting killed there.
Okay.
So this Kroger is at 725 Ponce de Leon Avenue. Do you recognize that wording, Ponce de Leon?
Yeah, the Fountain of Youth, yada yada. Was this in Georgia?
That was in Florida. That was the...
No, I mean, there is a Ponce de Leon Avenue in Georgia, so that's why I was asking if it was there.
No, this one is in Georgia. Sorry. Yes, Murder Kroger is in Atlanta. But the previous episode where we covered the Ponce de Leon and we had the debate over the name.
Yeah.
That was in one of our College Palooza episodes, the Florida episode.
Fun fact, for one summer I worked on Ponce de Leon Avenue.
Really? Did you know about the murder Kroger?
I did not know about the murder Kroger. Apparently I'm just really close by all these things, and I don't stick around long enough to know what's going on, which is unhelpful for this podcast, I know.
So, yes, this is an Atlanta Kroger grocery store that locals think is cursed. Despite multiple attempts by Kroger to rebrand the store, even going as far as to tear down the store and rebuild it.
They did this for that reason?
Yes.
Oh my God.
People still call it the murder Kroger. And one quote I saw was, "It's a name for the store that just won't die." Hey. So the store opened in 1986, and in 1991, a woman named Cynthia Prelu was the first victim of the parking lot. She was shot in a drive-by shooting, and she did die in the hospital later due to complications from the injuries. Mm-hmm. She was the only victim, and she was the only one harmed, and her killer has still not been found. She was with 2 other people at the time, though. And there are still people around because that was in 1991. So there's still people around to this day who are like, yeah, I was there. I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then in 2002, a woman smelled a strong odor in the parking lot and reported it to police. At this time, the Kroger was still being called the cursed Kroger or the scary Kroger. It was not yet the murder Kroger until this happened. The police investigated the strong odor, and they found a man in his car dead and decomposing, and he had been there for a bit.
Oh my God.
So the identity was never released, but they do believe he was shot. Yeah.
And nobody just knew that he was shot.
I mean, nobody knew. Like, yeah.
Like, there was this guy who had been shot for a while.
Yes. Just sitting and baking in the parking lot. Yeah. So at this point, it became the murder Kroger, even though, so I couldn't find any information on this. This is why I told you earlier, the newspapers.com subscription. I was looking through newspaper articles and stuff like that, and I couldn't find his identity, but from certain verbiage that was used, this might have been self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then in 2012, Lee Lowry, a student at Georgia State University, was murdered outside the Ford factory lofts, which had the same parking lot as the Kroger. Mm-hmm. He was shot a single time around 5 p.m. I believe this was also a drive-by. Yeah, this was also a drive-by. And he ended up dying in the hospital. And a man named Antonio Johnson was arrested and charged with his murder.
Oh, at least we caught somebody.
Yeah, yeah. At least we caught somebody. But that was actually the only person who has been arrested for any killing that happened in this parking lot.
And wait, when was Lee Lowry killed?
2012.
Okay, so it's like one a decade they're finding, kind of.
Yeah, until 2015.
Oh no.
And March 10th, 2015, an Alabama resident who was in the area for work and the father of 4 kids was shot in the chest in the parking lot. He was walking in to get groceries when he saw 2 people attempting to break into another car. He confronted them and they shot at him and then escaped in a black BMW with blacked out windows and no tags.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They were trying to steal from another car. He confronted them to be like, hey, stop stealing from other people. So they shot him and ran away in their own car.
Well, it's just, okay, the black BMW with no tags, you know, I'm assuming that if they're doing the whole thing, trying to break into another car, I hear that, I assume petty cash, something like that, okay? Mm-hmm. Why would somebody who has a BMW with blacked out windows... Oh, unless they stole the BMW and that's why it has no tags.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people who maybe they were planning on stealing the car because there's 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know they tend to make a lot of money stealing cars.
Okay. I got you. Huh.
Yeah. So that was the 4th murder that happened. And that was again in 2015. And so that was what got Kroger to shut down the store. And then in 2016, they bulldozed the area and reopened a new Kroger. But before the old Kroger was torn down, people had a sigil Sigil? Is that how you pronounce it?
A vigil, maybe?
No, Sigil.
Oh, yeah, then sigil.
Okay. Sigil in the parking lot and wore divisive Murder Kroger t-shirts.
Oh my god.
So some people are like treating it like, okay, this is a cursed Kroger, kind of funny, you know, situation, wearing Murder Kroger t-shirts,
Yeah.
having a sigil and lighting candles, and
I really think they meant vigil.
the newspapers say sigil.
I think that was a typo.
Okay.
I'm really sticking with vigil here.
I think sigil is a word, though.
It is. It just doesn't mean that.
Yeah, no, it does not mean that. That was totally a typo, huh?
It's a vigil.
Okay, a vigil then. Yeah, so like they were doing this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like people, specifically the best friend of Cynthia Prelude, who was there when she was shot, the first murder,
yeah.
he was like, that's just tasteless. Like, these are actual victims.
I agree. I mean, it seems to me like this is just like, I don't know if it's a high crime area or what, but
It is Atlanta.
It seems like it's a series of just bad things that are not, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, you know?
Right.
Like, it's really awful, but it doesn't, like, boggle the mind that it's all happening.
Well, people believe it's cursed, but there has not been any deaths ever since they reopened it. So it's either that vigil that happened that broke the curse, or them tearing it down and rebuilding that broke the curse.
If it was a curse.
If it was a curse.
Okay.
But it is still known as the Murder Kroger.
Gotcha.
And as all folklore should, it does have a song.
Oh no, what?
Yes. So there is this small band called Attractive 80s Woman that wrote a song called Murder Kroger. And one of the stanzas, or part of one of the stanzas, one of the lyrics goes, "It's a grocery store with a deadly twist. You'll get shot in the head for your shopping list. Murder Kroger. Murder Kroger." So the song's not great. Not great. And also has a slur for trans people in the first stanza.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So I don't recommend listening to it just cuz. But it's also not great. Like, it kind of sounds like Pizza Rat. That's what it was called, right? It kind of sounds like Chris Pratt's
Did Pizza Rat get a song?
in Parks and Rec. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean Mouse Rat? No, Pizza Rat was a meme of a rat that had a piece of pizza. Mouse Rat is Andy Dwyer's band.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's kind of like a local band that thinks that they sound better than they do.
So, like, his song, Murder Kroger is to Attractive 80s Women as The Pit is to Andy Dwyer.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you. So that is the story of Murder Kroger.
Thank you.
You look like you really debated saying that thank you.
I just, okay. Murder Kroger. Gotcha.
Urban legend.
I really had no idea that it was close by. All right. I have my final story for you. This one is called The Face in the Courthouse Window.
Is it about a face in a courthouse window?
Yes.
Woo!
That's it. That's the story. Goodbye.
Woo!
All right. Well, the courthouse in question.
Is in Charleston.
No.
Oh.
Is in Carrollton, which is in Pickens County, Alabama.
Okay.
They had a courthouse. It was burned down. Shut up. It was burned down in 1865 by Union troops. So Civil War comes in, burns down your courthouse. Okay. It was rebuilt, and then it was burned again in 1876.
Okay.
And this one caused a kerfuffle amongst the townspeople because, like, all their important documents and all the deeds which proved they owned their land were in there.
Ooh.
And you can't really replicate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can, but nobody had the forethought because you don't really think that the courthouse is going to get burned, even though it did get burned recently. Okay, so maybe that wasn't a good idea on their part. Anyway, the courthouse burned in 1876.
Plus, individuals are supposed to own the original deed while the courthouse just records a copy of it. At least that's how it is now.
Oh, shoot, Zoe. Maybe, do you think that's because it burned down?
Maybe. I mean, that's how it is in South Carolina, at least, is that you get the original deed. Sorry, I work in real estate.
I'm proud of you. So it again burned down in 1876. They rebuilt in 1877, and it looks good to be rebuilt in a year. They thought it was arson, okay? And nobody was arrested for over a year until January 1878, where a black freedman named Henry Wells was arrested. Now, I tried to find newspapers that had information on this, and I just personally couldn't. So I don't get why they I don't get what was pointing toward him, but I do know just from having covered the South during this era that perhaps a lot of prejudice was involved in arresting this person in particular, especially since over a year passed between when it happened and when the arrest occurred, because it makes me think like you really had no clue what was going on in the meantime.
Gotcha.
Okay, just had to put that out there. So he was arrested, and apparently the jail was also in the courthouse. I'm not quite sure. A mob was very angry at him.
Okay.
There's lots of mobs in our stories. So they were coming up to the courthouse, and they wanted to lynch him. And apparently he had previously actually escaped from police custody, or tried to, and they shot him in the leg. So he was already, like, injured and everything. They had him in the courthouse, and I think they put him in the attic so the mob couldn't get to him.
Okay.
And I think this is kind of where, like, the legend of it gets into it. But he was at the window, looking down at everybody, and according to legend, like, yelling out to them, cursing them, saying that, like, or, no, threatening to curse them. Basically saying, if you hurt me, I will curse you.
Okay.
And as that happened, lightning struck.
Oh.
And it imprinted his face into the window. He survived. I don't think it hit him.
Okay.
He actually, so they didn't get him that day. It did say that 2 months later he did die, and it said that he was actually trying to, like, escape again, and it said he died as a result of his wounds, and I'm reading that as, it seems to me very likely that the police ended up shooting him or something similar to that.
Right.
That is me putting an assumption in there, but it's kind of the only thing that makes sense to me.
Right.
Now, the face in the courthouse window, it's still there.
Ooh.
This happened in 1878.
Like, you can go there, everybody will be able to see it. It's not like a ghost.
I'm showing you a photo right now.
Ooh.
It's loading. It's doing that thing that, like, photos never do anymore, which is, like, bit by bit by bit loading.
Are you using Internet Explorer?
I know. this is Google Chrome. It's working on it. But
Are
as
you connected to my Wi-Fi?
Yes, I am. It's
Okay.
just, I don't know why it's choosing to go very slowly, but it is. Do you see the face? It's very clearly a face. It's not one of those situations where it's like, well, if you turn the camera this way and you squint, you can see it. It's like, no, there's a very anguished, scared face in the window.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it, it's like, it's not saying that a person is looking at you necessarily, but you can really see the imprint of where a person was against the window is what it looks like. So again, this has been there since 1878.
And I like the street sign arrow pointing at it on the building.
I don't know if that's, I guess you're right. No, it's right up there, because that's the attic.
Yeah, no, like, they legit put a street sign arrow, like, hey, look at this cool thing.
Look at the face. It is good for tourism.
Yeah.
So, at first, they were trying to, like, clean it. And people have, like, used a whole bunch of different chemicals to clean it. It does not come off. And one other thing is, when you're up there at it, you don't see the face. It only appears from, like, the vantage point of you're looking up at it, which kind of makes sense if he was yelling down to the crowd of people who were looking up to him.
I wonder, like, what the scientific explanation for that is.
I have absolutely no idea.
Like, something with the lightning and the energy charge and light reflecting and glass. I feel like my brain is, like, saying, yes, these elements can cause that to happen, but there's, like, some law, some, like, physics law that I don't know about that is, like, the missing piece that glues it all together.
I mean, okay, think about it like this. Did you ever take, like, photography in high school?
No, but I understand what you're going at right now.
There's some sort of mix of, you can show light to a piece of paper and show amount of chemicals, and you'll be able to print a photo without using any electricity or anything.
Right. Or like X-rays, kind of, where you beam raise at something and it shows up on a thing behind you, you know?
Yeah. Listen, I don't know how things work. Maybe this is all workable. But, you know, you can go in and you can see the face in the courthouse window. They do have an annual play called The Face in the Courthouse Window.
Don't know if I like that, considering it's about lynching a black man.
Yeah. Or, like, trying to lynch
Well,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the story of The Face in the Courthouse Window.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
You have more stories for me?
I have 3. Number 1, Eliza Battle. Which honestly sounds like I'm doing a second Annie Christmas.
I was gonna do that one.
You almost did Eliza Battle?
I almost did it.
So, the thing is, okay, first of all, Eliza Battle is a steamboat that was on the Tombigbee River. It traveled back and forth between Columbus, Mississippi, and Mobile, Alabama in the 1850s. So, Robin, I almost didn't do this one because I saw that there wasn't a lot of information online. Is that the reason why you didn't do it?
No, the reason I didn't do it is because I saw that there was a lot of information online, and I figured I don't want to take up time researching something that maybe could be its own episode.
Oh, okay.
So we had different experiences.
Yeah, so I couldn't find much except for, like, I kept being pointed back to this very specific book.
Okay. Was it 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey?
And yes.
That has the face in the courthouse window.
Well, Robin, if you recall,
It has the red lady.
I purchased this book for the Huntington College.
You bought the book?
I bought the book. I have the ebook on my Kindle over there.
Oh my god, because I was just thinking I want this book because I found it in my research too.
Yes. So, yeah. So most of this information comes from 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey, a book by Catherine Tucker Wyndham and Margaret Gillis Fifth. Sorry, I feel like there should be another letter at the end of that last name.
Did you just say fifth?
Figh. Maybe it's Fig?
Maybe.
I don't know. It was where I got the information about the Red Lady from Huntington College. And apparently they have other ghost books that's like 13 Louisiana Ghosts and Jeffrey or something like that.
They're amazing.
They are amazing.
I appreciate them.
So I can tell you a lot about how it became a ghost ship, but I don't have many sightings. Were you able to find any sightings?
No. Okay. I
Okay.
stopped my search pretty early once I realized just how many results were coming up for it, honestly.
Gotcha. Okay. So it was destroyed in a fire near Pennington, Alabama on March 1st, 1858, where it killed about 33 people of the 60 passengers and the 45 crew members. Very soon afterwards, reports came in of a burning ghost ship in the area. So pretty immediately afterwards, people started seeing the ghost ship. But let me tell you about how it burned. So it was a party ship where people would wear their finest clothes just to see it, and people would have parties on the shore where they knew the boat was planning on passing by or even stopping. And sometimes people would even set off fireworks when they see it.
Oh.
And that was the case this night. So it was...
Oh no.
Yeah. So it was never directly tied to the fireworks. However, fireworks were set and there was a fire. So the last trip started late February 1858, where a bunch of plantation owners and well-off ladies boarded the boat, and the ladies planned to socialize, and the plantation owners brought all their cotton onto the boat.
Which is extremely flammable.
Which is extremely flammable. But it was like their excuse to ride the boat. They're like, oh, I have to bring all this cotton up to town, so I'm going to ride the boat. And of course, they were dancing into the night.
Yeah.
But there was also a storm brewing. So Captain Stone was unable to make out familiar landmarks in the declining visibility, and the ship was being pulled in all directions by the strong current, to the point where the person who usually drives the ship, pilots the ship, whatever the ship's, he couldn't even really control it, even though he had been driving that route for years. Even the tallest trees were submerged by the rising waters. But when the fire began, the dancers all panicked and ran because the fire was... So they were dancing. Somebody comes in yelling fire, and when they came out of the dance hall, everywhere was on fire because the cotton, there was so much cotton stored on board that all of it was on fire. It was literally burning from the front to the back. I don't know ship terms. And bow to the helm, or whatever you want to call it. So
we're gonna get ridiculed.
Yes. So people were panicking and running, but the fire was too great by the time that they noticed, The cotton had all caught fire, and it was going from the engine room to the cabins, is what I wrote. So people started jumping into the icy water. But again, it's storms. So it's sleeting, there's storms going on. The water is much higher than it usually is. It's also much faster than it usually is. People actually were trying to, like, throw the cotton into the water, like, stop the fire, A, and B, they were clinging onto the barrels as life devices. People swam to the tops of trees, because that's what all that was sticking out of the river, and clinging to them if they could swim. And the boat continued down the river while it was burning until it eventually sank into the water. Frank Stone was potentially the son of the captain, because he had the same last name, but he was the second clerk of the boat. He swam ashore carrying a child, and then put a woman named Miss Turner onto a bale of cotton and dragged it to the riverbank. And then he went back for Miss Turner's mother and sister, but the sister froze to death in his arms, and the mother froze to death while hanging onto a tree. So that's, like, one of the things that kind of makes this a folklore thing, is, like, oh, the brave young Mr. Stone was...
Oh, so you have, like, a hero.
Yes. Yeah, he became kind of the hero. And then there's a second hero as well. In the town nearby, it was 30 miles away, and they saw the burning boat and heard the screams, so they rushed to help where they could. James Eskridge was the second hero of the story. He used a skiff to paddle through the storm and rescue survivors for hours. Some people say he rescued one people, some people say he rescued hundreds of people. May I remind you, there was about 130 people on board. So there's no way.
Took a second for me. Okay.
So then, oh my god, this was a terrible part. Terrible part. People in nearby towns, once they heard the news, arrived with woodsmen to craft rafts to try to save people. But by the time they got there and built the rafts, most of the people who were alive were already rescued, and the rest were already dead. So the rafts weren't really used, so the woodsmen then disassembled the rafts and built them into coffins instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is, like, poetic, but also terrible.
Yeah.
And also not necessarily true.
Also that.
Yeah, but that's just, like, the folklore story that was passed down. On stormy nights to this day, people on the river can hear music from a ship. So let's say you and I were having a picnic on the riverbanks.
As we do.
Yeah. Actually, as we have planned.
Actually, we have.
But let's say you're on the riverbanks, right? You could look out into the river and you would see a beautiful boat, and you'll hear music. They called it gay music, but I think they meant happy music. And I would be jumping up in a panic because I would see a boat half burned and hear screams of anguish in the same moment. And you would not really think much of it besides what the heck is wrong with you, Zoe?
So I wouldn't see them.
No.
Okay.
But to me, it would be an omen of bad luck.
Oh, because you're the one who saw it.
Yes. So anybody who sees the burning boat and hears the screams of anguish usually has some sort of bad luck coming in their future. But those who see just a happy boat with music happening, they just don't really think anything of it. They don't realize it's a ghost ship.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Unless you know the history of the river. Those who can see the anguished ship, and if they work on the river, have been known to quit that day and find another job on the shore, because they tend to believe that that is a warning that they will die on the river if they see that boat.
I get that logic.
Yeah. Yep. So that is the story of the Eliza Battle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this story that I have is the talking eggs. And so this is actually a Creole folk tale that was often told in the South, and it was like passed on by word of mouth. So this isn't necessarily like, it's kind of like a Southern fairy tale rather than there's a monster in the lake kind of situation, you know?
Okay.
And it was published in a book by Robert D. Sansucci, but the story wasn't his. He just made it into a book. And that was kind of honestly like a point of contention when he made it into a book, because people were like, it's not your story to make money off of. It's not your story to publish.
So he wasn't part of like the culture or anything?
From what I can tell, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to read I haven't actually read the book. This is from the original story. So no copyright violation here.
Woo!
So there is a lazy widow who has 2 daughters. Rose is the oldest and is mean and lazy, just like her mother, but Blanche is the youngest and is kind and forced to do all the chores around the house, Cinderella style. The mother tells Blanche to go out and get some water, and so she does that. She goes to the well, and at the well she meets an old woman who asks for some water. So Blanche has to lower the pail, raise the pail, give the water to the old woman, lower the pail, raise the pail, and then go back home.
Okay.
And because of that, it takes her longer to get home than it typically does. And so her mom beats her for it, because it took her longer to get water. Yep. And so Blanche runs away and finds herself in the woods after being beaten by her mother, where she runs into the same old woman that she gave the water to. And so the woman kidnaps her, kind of.
It depends on how old Blanche is, I guess.
Blanche is a child.
Kidnaps her.
Kidnaps her and takes her home, and Blanche behaves well, is how it's phrased, and does everything that the woman tells her to. And the woman rewards her with food and something that they call a night dance, which I'm guessing is like she gets to dance at night. I don't know.
That's a really creative interpretation from you.
Thank you
for sharing.
But then she's been there a little bit too long, and Blanche has to go home. So before Blanche leaves, the woman brings Blanche to the chicken house and tells her to take any of the eggs that say, "Take me," and leave any of the eggs that say, "Don't take me." When I was typing this up, I was like, okay, they have it printed on the eggs or whatever, right? Until I remembered that the story is literally called The Talking Eggs.
So they're actually saying, "Don't take me."
Yeah. So all the ones that are saying, "Take me," look plain. They're just normal eggs. All the ones that are saying, "Don't take me," are like gilded eggs. Like they're fancy looking.
Oh, so it's a temptation.
Yes. But Blanche is a very good girl. So she takes only the eggs that say, "Take me." So when she's on her way home, she's pretty close. She throws the eggs over her shoulders and break them open. I think they told her to.
I was like, that's a bad thing to do with your eggs.
But when they break open, gems, money, dresses, and a horse and carriage spurt from them in magical ways. And so she rides home in the horse and carriage. And her mother and sister help her carry in all the riches and pretend to be nice to her. But the mother waits for Blanche to fall asleep and tells Rose, "Get up early in the morning and go into the woods and find this same old lady. Once you can get more eggs from this old lady, we're going to leave Blanche here and we're going to go to the city with all of her riches. And we're going to live in the city and be happy, essentially."
This woman really likes one of her daughters and really doesn't like the other.
Right. Yeah, no. Well, Rose wants to run off immediately into the woods, but her mother's like, "No, wait for daybreak," or whatever, and is eventually able to convince Rose to wait. And so Rose goes into the woods the next morning and finds the woman. The woman brings her back to her house, and Rose constantly disobeys, misbehaves, and demands to be given the talking eggs. So, as you probably can predict, when the old woman brings her to the hen house, Rose takes all the fancy eggs that say, "Don't take me." So Rose breaks them, and instead of gems and all those other things coming out, wild animals hatch from the eggs and chase Rose all the way home.
Oh, really?
And then her mother tries to save her, but instead the animals start chasing and attacking both Rose and the mother. And then when they come home, the animals finally leaving them alone, they're beaten, bruised, and tired. They also find that Blanche has left for the city with all of her riches, where she continues to be kind. And Rose and her mother spend the rest of their lives looking for the old woman and the talking eggs, but can never find them again. The end.
Good for Blanche.
I know.
And where is this story?
It's a Creole story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a word of mouth story. It's kind of like a you better behave. Like, good things come to those who behave and are kind.
It really is a fairy tale. I mean, you got an old witch in the woods who gives you something.
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale.
Yeah. And talking eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a mythical thing if I ever heard of it.
Well, thank you, Zoe.
You're welcome. So, Robin, before we started recording,
Mm-hmm.
I told you that there was one that genuinely freaked me out.
Are we there?
Yes, we're there.
Okay.
Can I tell you about the Boo Hag?
Oh, I love these.
Have you ever heard of the Boo Hag?
Yeah.
Apparently, it's like a South Carolina story, more specifically Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
But it was originally a Gullah story.
Oh yeah, it's very Gullah. It's like they're like intertwined as part of the culture, right?
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Boo Hags are very similar to vampires. They gain sustenance from a person's breath by writing their victims. Okay? I will explain what writing means in a second. But I just want you to hang in suspense as I did as I tried to figure out what the heck writing their victims meant.
Uh-huh.
I am so bothered by this. So, first of all,
I don't think I knew what Boo Hags were specifically. I think I knew of Boo Hags.
Okay.
Because you're telling me things I did not know.
Okay. So they're red. You want to know why they're red?
From the blood?
They don't have skin.
Oh, okay.
They don't have skin.
This is your second skinless one this time.
But at least the other one also didn't have muscles. This has muscles. And they're wet.
Ugh.
And they're warm. And they're squishy.
I don't like those words together.
They're raw meat on bones. And they stink. And they don't have skin.
I got that.
Yeah. So it's really problematic for them to walk around during daylight without skin. So they really need some skin. So they're gonna steal yours. Boo Hags steal your skin. Okay?
I'm laughing at you. I'm sorry.
They wear it as long as they can.
Yeah.
Until it starts decomposing.
Oh, so you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead.
Okay.
Yeah. They slit your skin and wear it as a skin suit until it starts decomposing, and then they have to find another victim, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're described as raw, looking raw, that they're hard to hold on to, and that they're warm like raw meat. Okay?
I have never seen you so affected by a story we've
I
covered.
hate this.
Okay.
Okay, but don't worry. They remove their stolen skin before they go riding, which is how they steal your breath, okay? So, if the Boo Hag determines that you're a good enough victim for them, what they'll do is that they'll remove their skin, wait until the cover of night, and then they'll squeeze in through any tiny crack in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Crack, hole, crevice, doesn't matter how small it is. They'll slither in, okay? Ooh. And then it will stand over you and suck in your breath as you breathe, as you sleep at night.
Uh-huh.
And then you'll enter a deep, dream-filled sleep where you're unable to fight back against the Boo Hag. And they'll leave you alive because they like you as a victim and they know how to get to you. So they'll leave. And then the next night, when they need to feed again, they'll come back. So yeah, they'll leave you alive,
mm-hmm.
and then like come back the next night and steal your breath.
It makes me think of a vampire. Did you already compare them to vampires?
Yes, I said that was like my second sentence in here.
So they were like breath vampires.
They're breath vampires.
Okay.
Except they're allowed to come in even if you don't give them express permission.
That sucks.
Yeah. So they will leave you alive so that they can come back again and again and again. And the only sign that you've been a hag victim is that you may feel short of breath and very tired when you wake up. Which is like, hey, I always feel tired when I wake up. I almost never feel refreshed waking up. But obviously I don't believe in it. But this is very specific to South Carolina, so mm-hmm. I was freaking out, okay? And I was doing at like probably 1 a.m. today. I was wrapping up my notes at 1 a.m. today, and this was the one I found, of course, at 1 a.m. So,
Sweet dreams.
yeah, I know, right? Luckily, Kari went to bed at the same time as me, so unless Kari is a Boo Hag, I feel like you are safe, like, rescued a little bit if you have, like, another person in the bed with you. Okay. If the Boo Hag comes to visit you, okay, and you struggle against them, whether you're not fully awake when they sneak in and you hear them or something, if you struggle against them, they're like, it's time for you to die now. And so they steal your skin. They kill you. Well, no, they don't kill you. They just rip your skin off and leave you to die.
Wait, if they rip your skin off, are you a Boo Hag?
No, you just die.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you just die, and they leave you alive to suffer without skin. Of course, you end up dying. And then the Boo Hag flies away. Flies. But they can only do that after consuming breath. So they have to walk around when they are hungry, but when they have breath, they can fly.
Can you just imagine, like, walking down at Charleston Street at night, looking over and just seeing one of these things carrying a skin suit, not in it, carrying it, and just being like, oh no.
I don't want to.
No, I don't want to
I would run away.
Yeah.
So they must put on their stolen skin before dawn, otherwise they will forever be trapped without skin. And apparently there is a saying in South Carolina, I didn't know it, Kari's never heard of it. Don't let the hag ride ya.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, but apparently that is a South Carolina phrase that people use fairly often.
Oh, I will use it now.
Okay, yeah. Well,
what does it mean?
Don't let the hag ride ya. It's just like, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Oh, I love it. That's the new one. Good night. Don't let the hag ride ya.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Boo Hag.
Thank you for telling me this.
You're welcome. And I think that wraps up all of our Southern lores for our very special 50th anniversary.
Can you believe we're 50?
I know, we're 50 years old.
We don't look a day over 49.
I agree with you.
All right. Well, congratulations to us.
Yes.
If you enjoyed today's... Oh, wait, high five.
Oh. Woo.
If you enjoyed today's 50th episode, please subscribe, rate, review, tell a friendo, and subscribe to our Patreon for $3 a month. Flat tier, you get a new episode.
Every month on the 13th, because we're spooky. Also, if you want to see our sources for this episode, you can go to hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com and you can look at our sources. That's a fun thing you can do.
We still don't have this down.
No, we don't.
It's our 50th one.
You think 50 episodes in, we'd figure it out, but you know what? I think it would be more boring if it sounded the same every single episode.
Okay.
Also, if you want to write us your own spooky story, maybe there is a bit of Southern lore that you've heard of before. We did not mention it in this episode. Send it to us at hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com.
We're also on the interwebs. You can find us on Twitter at Haunted Hosts. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Haunted Hospitality. We hope to see you there.
Stay spooky!